Hey guys, thanks for joining me up on Play Games. My name is Lance, and today I'm looking at a brand new game coming to Kickstarter called Dawn of Madness. This is a brand new game from Dimension Games. It is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 1.5 to 3 hours to play, and is a fully cooperative game, so all the players are working together to defeat the scenario they've chosen to go on. So in this video, I'm going to be playing through the first couple rounds to show you how the game plays and progresses to help you decide whether or not you want to back this one on Kickstarter. For those of you that are familiar with my videos, I am going to be doing this one just a touch differently than normal, as normally I cover the first, middle, and end couple rounds to show you how the game plays and progresses throughout the entire game. But with this one, with it being so heavily driven on the story, I don't want to reveal too much, so with this one, I'm only going to be covering the first couple rounds, and then for the final round, I'm going to show you a finale round. And with that, I'm not going to reveal too much, but of course, keep in mind that there are going to be some spoilers with this, so if you don't want to miss any or be exposed to any of that and you don't want to reveal anything, you may not want to watch this or may only want to watch a little bit of this. Other than that, like I said, I will be going through this, but I will try to be very careful on what I reveal. I don't want to reveal too much to spoil anything for you. Now, if you're just interested in checking out some of the main features of the game, I will have a link in the top corner to show you an overview video where I just go through the main features of the game and show you what some of the components of the game are. So as always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference to me. It helps me continue to grow and be able to produce these videos. If you will stay tuned to all my videos, also consider ringing the bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. So let's head to the table and I'll show you what this one's all about. So before getting into the game, there's a couple things I'd like to cover real quick. First off, all the materials you see here are prototype materials and are subject to change, and are going to look a lot better when the final production copy is done. Even though this is a beautiful copy, this is still just a prototype. The other thing that I want to mention is that in this video, there are going to be some spoilers. I'm going to do my best not to give away too much, but just keep that in mind. So if you don't want any spoilers at all, you may just want to check out the overview video and see what the game's basic mechanics are versus watching this to show you what all the gameplay is in action. So just keep that in mind as you watch. There will be some spoilers in this for that. Other than that, the other important thing that I do want to cover real quick is that this game is still in development, and there are going to be some stuff that I talked with the designers on that I am going to kind of make up as I go along within the story in that. As they are still working in some of the stuff, as this is just a prototype book again, it does not cover all of the different things that are on the board and that are in the game for this particular Wanderer. So with that being said, there's going to be an event phase where you're going to have to go through and read an event, and those have not been added to the book yet. So those events are going to be made up by me. So if they seem a little goofy or quirky or whatnot, that is not the designers. That is just me kind of throwing some stuff in to basically explain how the game works and show you how it plays, but not by what they're going to be including. So they're going to do a lot better job than I am. So just keep that in mind as you watch as well. There are going to be a couple things that I'll just kind of throw in just to complete the game in essence to show you that. The other big thing with this is that unlike my normal videos, I won't be covering all of the game, as again, I don't want to give away too much. So I'm only going to play the first 2 turns of the game, and then I'll show you some of the final aspects to show you how that works and how that will be in a campaign. But again, with that, I'm just going to explain a couple things. I won't actually be playing through anything for that particular part. So let's go ahead and hit into the game. So at this point, each round is going to start with the refresh phase, except for the very first round, as there's nothing to refresh yet. So then we would move straight into the event phase. So during the event phase, you're going to read the number based on the current round. So with that, Emily is a psychiatric nurse at the psychiatric hospital, and she is working a late shift one night. She is going down the same corridors she always goes down, and there's just something that seems off. It is very familiar to her, but also weird and peculiar. As she makes her way down the hallway, a patient starts screaming and wailing, and so she starts heading towards that patient's room. As she gets there, or as she gets closer, the mounting dread that is coming over her and the sense of unease is just overwhelming, and her pace slows as she gets closer to the room. As she gets closer as well, the wailing continues and gets higher and higher until finally the patient bursts out of the room and charges after Nurse Emily. and reveal the bottom card, so you always are surprised, and we have Hysteria that comes out at her. So at that point, then we'll add him to the board, and his mental capacity is 5, so we'll place that on there. And then we're going to roll to see where he comes out at. So we'll do that. He comes out on 12, so he's all the way at the top of the board. Then we're going to consult the side of the World Shard card, and it's going to show us that we're going to roll a blue, a green, and a purple to determine what his domains are on his card. As each of the cards will have 3, so we'll go ahead and roll these. And we have a brain, an eye, and a tentacle fingers. And those aren't the technical names for those, but that's what we have for it. So we'll add those. And then with this, with the aberration, each of his actions also has a secondary special action that will be triggered based on the domains that he has on his card. So his first action needs tentacle fingers, so that one will be activated when it comes time for that. And the second one would need 2 eyes, and he only has 1 domain with an eye, so we won't be triggering the second half of this second action. So we got lucky there at least. From there, then we're ready to move on into the action phase. So during the action phase, we'll go ahead and look at our initiative track and activate our different characters based on where they are on that track. And as they activate, they're going to have to spend a certain number of mental capacity to do whatever action they are performing, and then that will change. And so you'll notice as we go through that their tokens will slowly move down that track. So Nurse Emily is our first character to go, so she is ready to perform her action. So she can do a number of different things, including moving around the board, going into different story elements, activating different portal cards, trying to use different things. Each character is also going to have 4 domain cards, or a number of domain cards depending on the number of players. With me only playing Emily, I will have 4 domain cards that I will start the game with. So I'll go ahead and put these out so you guys can see those, or possibly see those. I don't know if you can see them with the camera. So from there, let's go ahead and start off. So we do have a domain card here that says that it has an action on it. It says, play this card to discard a Devour token from the any world shard. And in order to perform this, we must have the 3 domains on our player board with tokens on them. So this one requires a brain, a tentacle hand, and an eyeball. So we do have tokens in each of those, so we can perform that action. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We'll spend this domain to remove this Devour token, as Devour tokens are really nasty. They have 2 different effects. First off, when we get attacked in spaces that have Devour tokens, they're going to have us reveal Devour cards, and then we're going to lose potential dice that we can roll based on those cards that come up, as you guys are going to see. The other effect is with the Abomination. At the end, when he has spent all of his mental capacity, any wanderer that is in a space that has Devour tokens is going to have to reveal the Devour cards based on the number of tokens. And each one of those cards has got nasty effects. So we want to do our best not to get caught by that. So we'll find out. Okay, so that was her first thing that she wanted to do. She didn't have to spend any mental capacity for that. So we're ready to move on to the next thing. So from there, let's go ahead and do a move action to move over to this space here. So it's going to, based on the number of spaces we move, that is the number of mental capacity we have to spend to do so. So we'll go ahead and spend 1 and bring our character down there and move over here. So from here, then we're ready to move on to the next group. Anytime there's a tie, the wanderers are always going to go last. And then if there's a tie between other characters, such as the malformations and the abomination, or aberrations or distortions that are out there, the players get to choose the order in which those are resolved. So let's go ahead and start off with the malformation. This is our level 1 malformation, so we'll go ahead and look at that card and see what she's going to do. So with it, it says that you're going to roll the Otherworld die, and that is going to depend on the number of players. Again, as you notice, we're not playing with these 4 locations here, because we're not playing with 3 or 4 wanderers. If in that situation, then you will have that 16-sided die that you'll roll. Otherwise, you'll have the 12. So it says to roll the Otherworld die and move up to 1 space towards the space shown in the result. If there is a wanderer in the same space during this process, stop moving and that wanderer must go to the entry below. So let's go ahead and give it a roll. And it's a 2. So our space 2 is there. So she is going to move 1 space and she's on there. And there is no wanderer there, so she won't resolve. We won't have to worry about the effects. Once that is complete, then that malformation's token is going to move all the way down to the bottom of the track. So each malformation will only activate once per round. Then we're on to the abomination. So we'll go over to the abomination card. So as you can see here, we have a number of different effects here. So first off, we have his special effect, which it says at the beginning of Frenzy's first turn, which is right now, spawn a devourer token in its space, and then spawn another devourer token in this space occupied by the wanderer with the most envenomed cards. When Frenzy's mental capacity reaches 0, each wanderer with a devourer in the same space resolves the devourer card. So again, we'll go ahead and add these tokens. So one goes into his space that he's in, and one goes into the space with the wanderers. Then we'll continue on. We have a passive ability as well, and it says, when a wanderer activates envenomed cards, inflict 1 green damage to the wanderer for each envenomed card he or she has. So currently we don't have any envenomed cards we have to activate, but there will be other effects that are going to cause those to activate as well, so we'll have to keep in mind and watch out for that. Then we'll go ahead and move on into his different actions, and we have a series of different actions, and so we're going to work our way down the list until one of the actions applies, and then we'll resolve the effects of that. So the top one states, Frenzy is in a space with a green sentient, then expend 2 mental capacity. Each wanderer in a space with a green sentient gains an envenomed card, limit once per round. So he is in a space with a green, but our wanderer is not, so we won't trigger that. So with that one, it says that if no wanderer is in the same space, expend 2 mental capacity to move up to 1 plus X spaces towards the nearest wanderer. X is equal to the number of envenomed cards the targeted wanderer has. So currently our wanderer does not have an envenomed card, so he's only going to move 1 space towards our wanderer. And it's going to be by the shortest path, and so the only path that'll reach her is going to be moving straight, so he's simply going to move here. And it's going to cost him 2 mental capacity to do that, so he'll move down there. So at that point, now that he's activated one of his abilities, then he is going to be done for now. So then finally we have Emily to go again. So let's go ahead and activate this portal here. So this one is going to require us to spend 2 mental capacity, and it's also going to require us to spend a couple of domains that we have. So we are going to need to spend a red or a yellow brain and a red skull. So we have both of those, so we're good there. Now we do have the domains here, which is considered a wild space, so we could have used the red for that as well if we didn't have a red skull. From there, then we're going to go ahead and spend that 2 mental capacity to take care of that part, and then we'll go ahead and resolve this. So it's going to have us read entry 11. And so with this is the only one that I'm going to go through and read to you guys. And there's a number of different steps with that. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. But this is going to be a spoiler for this part. Your home. Stepping in the front door, you feel a wave of nearly overwhelming nostalgia mixed with something else. A thick, tangy anxiety. You're not sure exactly why this nervousness is festering inside of you as you walk through the foyer, the floorboards creaking under your feet. Perhaps it's just because it's been such a long time since you were here last. You wonder absentmindedly if your parents are home, which forces an unexpected lump to rise in your throat. Passing by the stairwell to the second floor and the door to the basement, you come to the end of the hallway. You notice a family picture hanging on the wall behind a squat oak cabinet before you. The picture catches your eye. There's something off about it, though you can't tell exactly what. Before you can lean forward to inspect the picture, though, you hear 2 competing sounds stir to life. To your right, in the living room, you hear the old family TV flip on with a familiar electronic burp of vacuum tubes. At the same instant, you also hear water crashing into a still basin as the tap is turned on. It sounds like it's coming from the kitchen. So at this point is going to give us some choices. We can choose to investigate the picture more closely, which will require us to make a test. We can enter the living room, and then we're going to make a different test. or we can choose to peer into the kitchen, and there's also a test for that. Now, we can choose to take each one of these tests, failing it or passing it, but if we fail every one of the tests above, then we're going to lose an additional mental capacity. So at this point, let's go ahead and go into the living room. So it's going to require us to make a test on our red sentient. So we're going to roll 2, and we're looking for a tentacle finger. And we got one, so we're okay. We passed that test. And because we passed that, then we're also going to gain a crystal shard, or a memory shard, and then we're going to go to entry 95. Turning from the portrait, you stride into the living room. You are initially taken aback to see that the room appears to be completely empty. If no one is here, then how did the TV turn on? Hello, you call. Is there anybody here? There is no reply, just a sound of static as the TV screen ripples with black and white electronic snow. Frowning, you walk slowly over the creaking, dusty floorboards, sweeping your gaze over the room. Certainly it has seen better days. The paint is peeling on the walls, and the furniture is draped with old mildewed blankets and sheets. Well, hello there, my young friends, a voice calls from the TV. Golly, it seems like ages ago since the last time we saw each other. So at this point, then, we have another test. We can attempt to keep yourself from panicking. We're going to test our blue, and we need to get a blue skull. So we'll roll that. And we got a blue eye, so we did not pass that test. So we're going to lose one more mental capacity for that. You stop dead in your tracks and slowly swivel towards the TV. On the screen, a masked man dressed like a doctor is standing in what must be a set for the child's program. A medical bed reclines behind him with a tiger puppet lying under its sheets. Beside the bed stands a wolf puppet dressed like a nurse. The man is smiling a dazzling grin, his eyes locked directly on you. Well, don't dawdle, the doctor says. By all means, take a seat. We have oodles to do, and we need to get right to it. From here, we have a decision to make. We can either choose to sit down and lose one mental capacity, and then we'll also gain a token for number 56, which is another story element, which we have to resolve during our next activation. Or we can try to force the DV to turn off, and we'll make a green test, and we're going to need a tentacle hand and a skull to do so. So let's go ahead and try to at least test to see if we can turn the TV off. It's going to be a tough one as we only have 2, but let's see what we get here. We did not get either symbol, so I guess we're going to be sitting down. So we are going to lose another mental capacity, so we're down to 2 now, and then we'll gain the token for 56 just to remind us that we'll have to read entry 56 during our next turn. So we're on to our next character, which is Hysteria. So we're going to activate him. So if there are no wanderers in the same space, we're going to expend 2 mental capacity to move 1 space towards the nearest wanderer with the most number of eye domains. And if we have the tentacle hand, then this action is going to cost 1 less mental capacity. So it's only going to cost him 1 to do that. So he'll move 1 space towards us. So he's going to move there. Moving on, we have our malformation number 2. So that's going to be that one there. And let's go ahead and read what that one is. So it says move up to 2 spaces towards the nearest character that has a skull domain or a domain rift. So we do have that. And during this process, stop moving if the wanderer is in the space and then resolve the entry below. So then we're going to move 2 spaces towards them, and then we have to resolve that entry. So again, we'll go ahead and check in our book to determine what that is. So with this one, I'm not going to go ahead and read all of it. I'm just going to go over the choices or details that we have to make. So with this one, you have to make a choice. You can either fight the malformation, you can try to run away, or have a conversation with it. As she is really nasty looking, I don't know if we'll be able to get away, and I definitely don't think we should fight her. So let's go ahead and try to have a conversation with her. So in order to do this, we're going to have to roll our 3 yellow die, and we need to have at least 1 of these skulls come up. So let's see what we get here. We got 2 of them, so we're good there. We met our requirements, so we're going to have a conversation. So with that, now that we were successful, I will receive a couple of rewards. So first off, we're going to get 3 memory shards, and then we'll also get to draw a domain card. And we will receive a puzzle piece number 3. And these will have effects at the end of the campaign, so we'll just keep that off to the side. From there, again, that malformation will go to the bottom of the track, and then we're ready to move on to the abomination. So again, with that, he is going to activate, and again, there is no wonder in his space, so he's going to spend 2 mental capacity and move 1 space, as our wonder does not have any envenom cards yet, so he'll move into this space here. And then finally we have hysteria again, so again he'll only spend 1 to move 1 space. Then we're on to malformation number 3. So with that one, it says it's going to move 2 spaces towards the nearest character that has a green domain or domain rift. Again, our character is the closest that does have a domain that's green, so our person's going to move 1. Well, let's go 1, 2 here. Then we'll expend her mental capacity. So then hysteria is going to go again. This time he'll move 1 more, and he'll be in the same space as our wanderer. And then we're on to our next spot here. So again, we can choose the order in which we activate. So let's go ahead and take care of hysteria. So with this one, it says if a wanderer is in the same space, we're going to expend 1 mental capacity and inflict 1 green damage to each wanderer in the same space. So with that, then we'll check our green. So we get to roll 2 dice. And we do have a devourer token in there, unfortunately. So we have to reveal the top devourer card. And it's going to give us a symbol at the bottom of it, which is red. So it would affect, if we had to roll red die, we would lose 1 of our red dice. So we don't, so we're okay there. So let's go ahead and give him a roll. And we need to have at least 1 eye come up to stop the damage. And we had a wild, so that is going to count as an eye, so we are okay. We do not take any damage to our existence. So from there, then we'll go on with the abomination again. So with him, he is going to again move into our space now. And that is all he's going to do. That's going to require 2, so that'll finish off his turn. And then it is over to us to go. So with that, our wanderer is going to... She's going to go ahead and let's go ahead and see how a combat works. So she's going to spend 3 crystal memory shards to attack the abomination. So in order to do that, she has to draw one of her resistance cards. So we have 1 here. And this is going to list any additional effects, and it's also going to list the dice that we get to roll. So we're going to get to roll 1 blue, 1 green, 1 purple, 1 red, and 2 yellow. Plus, we can roll X extra dice of any sentience. X is equal to the sum of the levels of the malformations that are currently on the game board. All 3 of our malformations are on the board, and so each one of them is a level 1, so we get to add 3 additional dice to this. Before we make that choice, though, we get to reveal the confrontation card that we're going to go up against, as well for the abomination. So with this one, it's going to tell us the requirements that we need to get in order to do damage. So for each skull, eye, brain combination on the dice roll result, the abomination is going to take 2 damage. Now, if this is the Central Wanderer's resistance action, you're going to inflict 2 extra damage to the Wanderer, or to the abomination, which we are, the Central Wanderer. And then we spawn a Devourer token on each world shard containing a Wanderer at the end of this. So we'll resolve that a little bit later. So from there, now we have our combination of symbols that we're looking for, and each one of the die is going to have a focus on that, where their likelihood of rolling those is a little higher. So let's add another green, as that is our focus on eyes. That has 2 eye symbols on it. Let's go ahead and roll an additional blue, and we'll roll an additional purple. All right, so then we'll go ahead and roll these and see what we get. All right, so that was a pretty good roll. We have 3 brains, so we'll go ahead and just line these up here based on what we need. We needed skulls, so we have 2 skulls. And we needed eyes, so we have 1 eye here, and this is a wild, so we'll go ahead and count that as an eye as well. So we got 2 complete successes in there, and we also get that bonus 2 damage because we're the Central Wanderer. So we did 6 damage to the abomination. That was a really solid roll. So we'll add 6 damage to his card. And then finally we'll resolve the bottom effect. So we're going to spawn a devour token in our space. We already have one, so that's not good. The one other thing that we forgot to do is to resolve the abominations effect. Since he has ended his turn and our wanderer was in a space with a devour card, we're going to have to resolve a devour, or a devour token. We'll have to resolve a devour card. So with this one, it's going to inflict a number of damage based on the number of devour tokens. As there was only one in there at the time, we would take 1 damage to red. So we do get resistance for that, but we will reveal another card, and it's purple for the tokens we take off. So we roll 2 red, and we did not roll an eye, so we will take 1 damage to our existence. We'll add a red damage there. All right, so that took care of the abomination, so it is over to us to do something. So again, right away we have to resolve 56. Startled and perplexed, you retreat to the old easy chair and sit. Good, good, the doctor says. Now we can begin. Behind the doctor, the tiger coughs. Dr. Doodles, he moans, I don't feel so good. I think there's something wrong with my head. The doctor turns towards the patient. Oh, now don't you worry, Mr. Meow. He says, our trusty nurse Emily will get you fixed right up. Of course, doctor, says the wolf. Ducking below the bed, she resurfaces with an old rusty saw. Then the wolf hesitates. What's wrong, Nurse Emily? Dr. Doodles asks. At this point, then we have another test to do, so we're going to try to influence the course of the television show. We're going to make a red test, and if we roll a tentacle hand, then we go to a certain entry, and if we fail, then we'll go to a different one. So let's go ahead and roll and see what we get here. And we did roll a tentacle hand, so we are okay. We can go ahead and move to 82. Never mind, sir, Nurse Emily says. Must have been the case of the vapors. Wonderful to hear, Dr. Doodles exclaims. Now, let's get to it, shall we? With pleasure, Nurse Emily replies, and then looking down at Mr. Meow, she raises the saw and begins to cut vigorously into the feline's soft stomach. Mr. Meow screams over and over again. He wails loud and soul-chillingly as they continue in what seems an unending loop. Blood is spraying literally out of this cute, furry belly where Nurse Emily is sawing gleefully away. Then, leaving the saw lodged in his guts, she begins ripping at his flesh with her teeth. Please, Mr. Meow shrieks. Please, stop. Then, gurgling, he stops flailing. Straighteningly, Dr. Doodles turns back to the camera. His entire front is covered in Mr. Meow's blood. Well, look at you, he chuckles. You're white as a sheet. Try to bring your emotions back under control. Make a red test for brain. So let's see if we can do it. And we failed. Looking down, you realize your hands are clamped to the easy chair's armrests, your breath coming in short, frantic pants from your mouth as your heart hammers in your chest. On the television, Nurse Emily is busy tearing the bloody flesh free from Mr. Meow's jerking corpse, the sounds of noisy chewing and wet ripping of tendons echoing throughout the room. Dr. Doodles winks again. We did a good thing here today, my young friends. The mistress is going to be so pleased with us. And be sure to join us next time as we assist more people, big and small, because no matter who we are, we all need a little help from sometimes. Isn't that right, Nurse Emily? Then he picks a piece of bloody meat off his coat and sticks it into his mouth. He moans, grinning. I just love the taste of patience. So from here, then, we're also going to place a token in the conscious realm location for Dr. Thorne's office. And we're going to gain the Coda card, Helping Mr. Meow. So we'll go ahead and grab that. And with this one, it says that when you test a red domain during an attack action, the skull is also going to be treated as a success. So that's good. It'll give us a little bit higher chances on red. Then we also are going to gain 3 memory shards. And we're going to discard our 56 token. So from there, we can continue on with our turn as we haven't actually taken an action yet. So at this point, it's looking pretty rough there. I think we definitely need to move. And then we'll also flip this card over. as we've completed that now. We'll go ahead and spend 1 to move, and we'll go ahead and move down here. Then we're moving on to hysteria, so again, he is going to go ahead and move, and that's going to cost him 1, so he has exhausted his mental capacity. Okay, over to Emily now, as she only has 1 mental capacity left. There's not a whole lot that she can do at this point, so she is going to go ahead and not do anything, and so that'll spend the last of her mental capacity, and that will end the phase. Starting round 2, the very first thing we're going to do now is going to be refreshing. So our Wanderer will get to draw 2 new domain cards, so we'll go ahead and handle that first. And she has a maximum capacity of 4, so she's going to have to choose to discard some of these. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we have. So this one would be pretty handy to have. And so let's go ahead and get rid of this one here. And then this one is also a good one to have. So we'll go ahead and take that and discard these 2. Then we will reset our different characters' initiative back to their starting initiative. If we had any wanderers or malformations that had gone out of existence, we would go ahead and spawn them back in at this point if they were able to. And then finally, we also have to reset our domain rifts on our aberration here. So again, we'll consult the card he's on right now. So we'll have a red, a yellow, and a purple to roll. And so he's going to have 2 wilds and a tentacle hand. Okay, then we'll go ahead and move down the track, and then we're ready to move into the event phase. So again, with this, there is an entry in the book. So Nurse Emily is racing down the hallway, running from this horrible, grotesque, nasty, tentacled, evil-looking creature. And as she's running down the corridor, the lights are flickering on and off. She can barely make out what's in front of her, and she does notice out of the corner of her eye that there is this pit that she is coming up to. So she's going to have to make a test to see if she can clear that pit. So in order to do that, she's going to roll her red value, which is 2 red die, and she needs to roll a brain. So let's see what she gets. And she got it, so she is good. She made it and was able to jump just in time. So for that, she is going to receive another memory shard, and then we're ready to move into the action phase. So again, we will go ahead and start with Emily to take her first action. So with Emily, she is going to go ahead and start off by performing an attack on Hysteria there, as she does not want those tentacle fingers to come into play again, as that really does give him a lot more activation. So she's going to go ahead and attack that. So she'll look at her red result, and she gets 2 red die, and for every tentacle finger she gets, she's going to do a damage to him. So let's go ahead and roll that. So she got 1 wild, so that is 1 success. Now, if we had any red tentacle fingers, we could spend those as well. And we also have domain cards that we can spend to get additional dice. So this one will give us 2 reds and a green. So let's go ahead and spend that and get those. So we'll get 2 reds and a green to roll. And we got 2 more, so we did 3 damage to him. So he'll take 3 damage. And we will remove that domain symbol as well. So we can't attack that again, but he's also not going to benefit from any benefits that would have been granted from that as well. So that's good. And that's going to cost us 2. So we'll go ahead and move that down our track. From there, then we'll go ahead and activate the malformation. So with our level 1, she's going to have that dice roll and move towards that space 1 spot. So she rolled a 2, so she's already at 2, so we'll go ahead and roll it again and see what we got. So 7 this time. 7 is down where we're at. So the shortest path to get to that, looks like she's going to have to go all the way around because there's no path from here. Oh yeah, here we go. So she'd have to go down here. So she'll move down to this one there. So that will take care of her activation. And then we have the abomination. So again, he's going to activate starting with his first ability. So he's going to drop a devour token on his space, and that's going to fill that space as that'll be 3 on there. So that's really nasty. So then we're going to go ahead and move on to his activation. And first off, we'll resolve the top ability. It says Frenzy is in a space with a green sentience, which he is not. And so that will not trigger. So then we'll move on down. So it says No Wanderer is in the same space. Expend 2 mental capacity to move 1 plus X, where X is equal to the number of Envenom cards. We don't currently have any, so we'll have to spend 2 and move 1 space into Emily's space. Then we have Hysteria to go, so then he's going to activate. He is in the space with our Wanderer, so he is going to trigger that effect and attack. So it's going to have him spend 1 mental capacity, and he's going to inflict green damage. So we'll roll our 2 green die, and we need at least 1 eye to stop that. And we did not, so we will take another damage. Then it is our go. So with that, let's go ahead and do a domain or a sentient action there. So we can choose to spend 1, 2, or 3 mental capacity to roll those colored dice. So let's go ahead and spend 2 mental capacity to roll 2 dice. We'll roll a red and a yellow because we have those out here. Now we could roll the purple, and if we roll a different symbol than what we have, we could move that one over to a different symbol. Okay, so we have a yellow brain and a red tentacle fingers. Okay, and then it is on to our Hysteria in that. So we'll go, and again, we can choose the order in which we resolve those. So let's go ahead and do Hysteria first. So again, he is going to go ahead and spend 1 to attack us. And let's go ahead and roll and see what we get here. We rolled the eye this time, so we do not take any damage from that. And then that'll take care of him. So then we're on malformation 2. So she is going to move 2 spaces towards the character that has a skull domain. So that will be our Wanderer. And number 2 is going to be that one. So we'll move 2. All right, and then since she's in the same space as us, we are going to resolve that effect again. So again, we will make that choice. And this time, let's go ahead and try to run away and see if we get lucky. So that is going to require us to roll a blue die, and if we roll a brain, then we are successful in that. And we did. What do you know? We rolled the brain, so we have made it away from our malformation and have passed that test. So then we're on to our next one, which is the abomination, and he is in our space now, so this is bad news for us. So if a Wanderer is in the same space, expend 2 mental capacity, so we'll drop him down 2. And inflict 2 purple and 1 blue damage. And then the Wanderer is also going to activate all of his or her envenomed cards. So he is going to do 2 purple and a blue, so we get to roll our defense on that. We only have 1 blue and 1 purple, and we're looking for those eyes again, so let's see what we get here. So we got a wild and an eye, so we stopped 2 points of damage with that, and we could spend, let's go ahead and spend the purple eye here and stop the 3rd point, so we don't take any damage from his attack. We got really lucky there, and we do not have any envenomed cards yet, so we don't have to resolve that last part of the effect either. And then we're ready to move on again. So again, we have our Hysteria that's going to attack us, so let's see if we can stop it. We do roll the eye, so we are solid there, do not take any damage. Finally, our 3rd malformation is going to go, and again, she's going to move 2 spaces towards the character that has a green domain, which we do. So then she is going to move 2 spaces towards us. Then her turn is done, and then it is over to us to go. So let's go ahead and do a attack against the abomination with a malformation. So we'll have to spend 3 crystal shards again to do that. And then we're going to go ahead and consult the card of hers. So she is malformation number 2. So with that, she is going to, when we roll an eye, tentacle hand, and brain, and the results, each Wanderer that has a physical treatment gains 2 health. Unfortunately, we don't have any treatments yet, so we're going to roll a red, blue, yellow, purple, and 2 green. Then we're also going to reveal a confrontation card. And so with this one, it is going to, for each of the wild symbols that we roll, we're going to do 1 die or 1 damage. The abomination takes 1 less damage for each devourer token on the world shard that he currently occupies. So currently we're lucky we don't have any yet. And each Wanderer resolves 1 devourer card if there is a devourer token on the world shard that he or she currently occupies. Again, we got lucky there. So then we're going to go ahead and roll and see what we get here. So that was a terrible roll. So let's go ahead and activate our ability on here, which is 2 of the eyes and 1 wild to re-roll all of those dice. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll roll again. And that was a little better. We got 2 wild results. So we did 2 damage to the abomination. So we'll add 2 more damage on there. So he's up to 8. And then finally, the malformation is going to be removed from the field. And her card is going to be removed as well. So then when she comes back in, we'll reveal that next card. Actually, we can leave the card up here and then it'll just replace it. And then Emily still has her turn to go, as that didn't cost her any mental capacity to do that, and we'll discard this. So then she's going to go ahead and move. So she's going to spend 1 mental capacity to move up to this space here. Actually, we don't want to do that. Let's go ahead and spend 2 mental capacity, and we'll move back up here. From there, then we'll move on. Hysteria is going to go next, and so with that, he is going to move towards her now, and he'll have to spend both of his mental capacity as he doesn't have any tentacle fingers to get to her space. And then we're on to the abomination. So again, the abomination is going to go ahead and move, and so it's going to cost him 2 as well. And so that is the end of that, and our Wanderer is on a space that doesn't have any Devour tokens, so we won't have to resolve any Devour cards. And then he'll move 1 space towards her. Finally, we're on to our Wanderer to take her last turn. She'll go ahead and spend her last mental capacity and a wild token, as a wild can be counted as a brain, and you can spend brain domains to count as mental capacity to perform an attack action. So that'll be the 2 mental capacity that she needs, and we'll go ahead and attack our Hysteria again. With that, we'll go ahead and target yellow, and we'll get our 3 yellow dice for that, and we need those wild symbols. So let's see if we can get any. And we did not get lucky on that. And we don't have any other way to reroll, so that will end the round. Alright, so at this point, instead of continuing on with the game, I don't want to, again, give away too much of the game and spoil too many surprises for you guys. So the last thing I want to go into is some details about a final. So with that, your players, or all the Wanderers, are going to reveal all their puzzle tokens that they have, and then count up the number of doorways of each type that they have on there. So with my guy here, he has she has 3 red doors, and we have 1 minus door, so that's going to cancel the red out. So that'll bring us to 2. She has 2 purple doors and 1 light door. So anytime there's a tie, you're always going to go with the worst result. So it is going to be the red door, which is the worst possible ending. So with that, you are going to resolve the worst possible final. And so during that, we're going to go up against our Central Wanderer's final boss. So with that is going to be the twin sister. So as you can see here, here's her card, and she is really nasty. From there, then you're going to go ahead and set up the game. These will be traded out for these cards here that are going to add some different effects to the game and all kinds of different story elements that you're going to have to resolve, and certain sequences to be able to get certain things that'll help you in defeating her. Now, throughout the final as well, some really cool aspects to it. As the players continue on with the final chapter here, the players are going to experience player elimination and death. So once a player is out, they are out. And the other really neat feature with this is that the central wanderer, the main wanderer, is also going to slowly deteriorate over the course of this game session. She will slowly slip into her form, her malformation form, starting with the first one and working her way up into the third malformation, where she actually becomes an enemy to the wanderers and is actively seeking them out. So the players are really going to have to work hard to try to resolve things as quick as possible, because this gets really nasty really quick. So I hope that gave you guys a good idea of how the game plays. This is just a sampling, like I said. I don't want to spoil too much, and there are more choices that the players can make. Obviously, we didn't get into Emily's realm, where she can go and get some additional cards that'll help her out, get some more coda cards, and you have a limit of 4 coda cards initially until you start getting other things. And obviously the game itself is going to go 10 rounds, so we will only round 2. There's a lot of different things that our player can do. So as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave those in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer them, or swing by the Kickstarter's main page and drop any questions you have there. I'm sure that they're more than happy to answer any questions you have and would love to talk with you. So as always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, as it really does make a big difference, helps me to continue to grow and produce these videos. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.